This episode of the Off-Road Podcast is sponsored by Colby Valve.
Off-Road Podcast, episode 464, all about us.
Tonight, Aaron breaks out his skill saw, Coy drags something home, and Ben does not rock out.
Welcome to the Off-Road Podcast, the podcast about everything off-road. We cover the news, review products, and interview people in the off-road industry. Your hosts tonight are Aaron, Coy, and returning from the dead, my name is Ben, and welcome to the show.
Well, Ben.
All right, Ben. Yeah, you were missing. Time to fess up.
So, Sunday before last week's show, I woke up and it felt like I got kicked in the boys by a Muay Thai kickboxer. My whole nether regions all the way up into my tummy was my lower right hand side was in complete pain.
And that's a long distance from your nether regions to your tummy.
Yes, from my boys up to my tummy was hurting so bad that I
just
threw up
above your knees to mid tummy. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. So bad.
Almost his heart.
So bad I threw up. The night before, my son had his birthday party before school got out. Because his birthday's in July. So we're like, hey, let's have a birthday party while your friends are still around and nobody's out of town. So we had a bunch of kids at the house still that had spent the night. And finally, I got tired of it. And I said, nope, I'm leaving. I've got to go to the doctor. So I went and checked myself in the ER. And I've got kidney stones. I threw up 4 or 5 times. I was given fentanyl, then I was given Dilaudid, then Tramadol, and finally I passed out and slept for a little bit, and the CT tech was not there. They tried giving me an ultrasound, couldn't pick them up within the ultrasound. CT tech got me in. Finally, when he got there at 4, I think I checked in at 10.
Did they know that that's what it was? Were they looking for that or?
There was a couple guesses of what it could be. That was pretty high up on the list because of the pain and how it was going and the fact that I had blood in my urine.
That's always a bonus.
Yeah. So once they figured out that's what it was. Oh, yeah, they were trying to figure out. So they figured out that it was kidney stones fairly early on, but they wanted to confirm with the CT and see where it was at. And so I spent all day. I think I left the hospital at 10 o'clock at night. After getting there at 10 o'clock. So I came home the next day. Josh, I'm sure you're listening. Thank you for covering for me. But because of all of this, it threw everything for a loop. Because I've got to get surgery to remove them. They're 5 millimeters. They say it's a 50-50 chance between passing them from 5 millimeters to 10 millimeters. If you go bigger than 10, you shouldn't be able to pass them. Yeah, that's pretty big, right, Aaron?
That's big.
Yeah. So I've got a 5 millimeter rock lodged in my somewhere along my urinary tract here. So, yeah, fun times. If it does not pass within the next 4 weeks, what is it, July 9th, I'm going in for surgery to remove the stones or stone. One is still in my kidney. The other is in my ureter or whatever it is. So, yeah, fun times.
Urethra?
Not urethra, ureter. That's the tube between your kidney and your bladder.
Okay.
And so it was halfway through. So they've given me medicine, lots of drugs.
Yeah.
I've been zombied out for a lot of the last week, which has kind of sucked. Because I missed the last 3 days of school for being a bus driver, which kind of sucks. That's when the kids are usually the best. And I had to have my wife drive me everywhere that I wanted to go, which, being a guy that likes cars, nobody wants their wife driving them. No.
You should try operating heavy equipment. It's super fun.
Oh yeah. I've considered it.
Well,
so did
hey,
they tell you to
I got an idea here. Since Ben's missing out on whatever he's supposed to do, or maybe he hasn't. I don't know if you've mentioned that yet, but maybe you can make up for it with an epic trip to Moab. All the money you're saving not going to Montana. Even if you just caught a ride.
The problem is when you guys are going is when school's out, and with my contract, it's harder to get time off.
It's okay. They like you so much, they'll let you have it off.
COVID.
Yeah, I wish it was that easy.
It's not easy.
But everything's been thrown for a loop, so my trips have been canceled. So if this stone does not pass by Friday, my younger two sons are leaving Wednesday. My wife is going to leave Friday or Saturday to take my oldest to Montana and grab the youngest and see her sister. And then she's got to come back before she goes back to work Wednesday. So I'm probably just going to work on the 4Runner. And when the kid gets back, I think I'm going to take him fishing.
Mark says, it says don't take with alcohol, but you should take it with alcohol.
It's not a terrible idea,
You might want to make sure your wife is home when you do that one, though. Don't do it while she's in Montana.
Yeah, no. So yeah, I'm kind of, I don't know. It's throwing me for a
loop. Search and Rescue will be looking for you somewhere. You'll be wandering around the neighborhoods, and you'll be another reason why Search and Rescue was called.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of sucks because like I had all this trip planned, and then it canceled some stuff. And
I thought that they had these like sonic machines that they could use to like break up
if it's
stones
down
and stuff
to your bladder or in your urethra.
Mm-hmm.
Mine's above that.
Can you just like lay on a speaker and play really weird music?
Play some dubstep.
There you go.
I'm not a doctor, but I think that there's science for that work. Also, you mentioned something about Muay Thai earlier. Have you thought about just drinking a lot of water and then going to whatever MMA, studio you can go to and just be like, hey, just body shots only, and just spar and just have somebody that's pretty high level.
You're like, kick me between here and here.
Yeah. So that that pressure, eventually helps work it down.
I think I'll avoid that science for now. But I've been drinking.
Wait! Don't knock it, because if you go in with all that fentanyl and Dilaudid and stuff, you might be unstoppable. Like, because you can just shake off all the pain, and they'll be like,
"We could put some money on you."
Yeah, you could get some respect for like, hey, have you thought about training for real? It'd be like a movie, the bus driver that becomes an MMA fighter. You're just gonna have some issues passing the drug test and all, but still.
Yeah. I'm good.
Well, I kind of know your pain, Ben, because 4.5 years ago is when I had my gallstones, and it was the worst pain I'd ever had. And whatever drugs they gave me when I first was admitted didn't work, and I believe they had to give me fentanyl to make something work.
So the funny thing is the first thing they gave me was fentanyl, 25 mics of fentanyl. I don't know how much that is. They just said 25 mics. And I was like, oh, wow, this is going to be great. Fentanyl, I've never tried this. And it was just like, I don't feel anything. Where's the real pain relief? And then an hour later, they gave me the Dilaudid. And that was like okay, this is a little better. I'm hurting, but not so bad. And then it was shortly after that they gave me the Tramadol on top of that, just to kind of push me over the edge. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to relax now. And they had given me the Max Flow or Flow Max stuff as well, which is it relaxes your ureter and your urethra to allow for the stones to move.
Max Flow. I want to drink a whole lot of soda
I was
or
gonna say, I
something.
kind of
and
want to just
then-
try
and
some
take
of that.
some of that, see what that does. You like a fire hose.
Yeah.
You know how like Coy, when we were racing back in our chump car and whatever days, and you'd go to fill your car up and like it would take forever with a standard gas can. So you'd get like an oversized hose to get out of your gas can and everything. So it would just
Yeah.
and then you drill out the filler neck on your car too, so it just would take it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm imagining. You could just empty your bladder in 3 seconds flat.
There
Whoosh.
was, I don't remember what race team it was back in the day that they were known for finding unfair advantages, and they built this fuel stand, and it had like whatever size fuel tank, and it was like 6 feet in the air, and they just had a hose that ran over to the car. And everybody's like, "Oh, that seems like more work than it's worth," but whatever. And they had it that way during practice, and then everybody showed up the next day, and then they had raised it 29 feet. So it would dump all the fuel in the car in like 2 seconds.
29 feet. It was like way up
Yeah, it was looking like windmill height. You can look it up.
higher than a UFO light.
It was ridiculous, but that's how I imagine it. Where it's just I roll up. When you're at the urinal and you're like, man, this is just taking forever. Like, where is this all? I just want to it just falls out.
Yeah. I wonder if I can get some of that on the street.
Let's have Ben save you a little.
There
Well,
we
it sounds
go.
like you had like a good time, Ben. It
Oh
seems
yeah,
like you're enjoying
great
yourself.
time. But yeah, I've gotten to the point where I'm just gonna pull the 4Runner in. I guess I had my final inspection on the shop too. I passed, no worries there.
Good.
He came in, he was here for like 5 minutes. He's like, oh, I remember you. Yeah. Oh, this looks great. Oh wow, you really utilize this place really good. And all right, have a good one. Bye. Like he
Yeah.
looked at like in the panel and stuff, and he's like, oh nope, you're good. Like
Now you can really modify it.
Oh
now
yeah,
he's gone.
Now,
Do
now I
everything
can
you
do
want now.
stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Fire code. Who cares about that?
Right?
Well, what about you, Coy?
Well, like I've mentioned on the show before, my wife's been really wanting to get rid of our tent trailer and get something else. So we found the RV toy hauler thing she's been looking for. It's a Intech Flyer Discovery. Or maybe it's Discover. Can't remember. But it's basically a 16-foot cargo trailer with cabinets and a sink up front. And then it has 2 full down beds that come out of the sides. It's all aluminum construction. I think it weighs dry about 2,200 pounds, if I remember right. Has electric heat and AC, a little fridge, onboard battery, solar ready. And this
hot
guy,
water or just cold water?
just cold water. The guy
Okay.
that I bought it from had used it 3 times, and if you look through it, it looks like it's only been used 3 times. Apparently, he brought his side by side to St. Anthony's. I think that's in Idaho. And pulled it out, and he had it turbocharged and immediately blew it up. And his
that's-
side by side would barely fit in this because can't remember the width. The door's 6 foot, but the trailer's 7 foot wide, I believe. Anyways, it blew up like immediately after he got it out of the trailer, so he just went down and bought I think it's the Maverick RR or something, that crazy suspension Mavic now that has it comes around the tire. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he just went and bought one of those because he said, I wasn't going to sit there all week and not ride a side by side. So he just went and bought one of those, which doesn't fit in this even close.
Not at all.
Yeah. So now he sold it. He upgraded the tires because like most trailers come with kind of cheesy tires and they're like C load rated. So he got some Falcon E-rated tires for it, kind of all terrain. And I towed it home and it towed good. I used the Power Stroke to tow it home. I haven't hooked it up to the FJ yet, but it doesn't weigh hardly anything. Definitely can feel the wind because it's a sail, but
it's a brick. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a power awning and roof rack and stuff. As you can see, though, I have to dig out my in this picture here. I have it kind of backed up to the carport area on my shop.
Yeah.
I gotta drop that about 6 inches so I can get it in there.
Mm-hmm.
which shouldn't be a big deal. But in the very front fascia board and gutter actually sits lower than anything else in there. So it's really just the front edge of it that I got to take out.
And just give it a little better slope then, huh?
Yeah. Leroy Overlanding says, random question, Coy, do you have a tuner or chip on the Power Stroke? No, I do not. I am super scared of chipping because everybody knows. I don't know anybody that's blown up a diesel engine that was untuned or unchipped, but I know multitudes, like both hands and toes, especially with the 6 liters, that put a chip on them and immediately blew them up. So I kind of am staying away from the chips on the diesels. I know it could be done, but it's just a tow rig. So that's where I'm at.
I wanted to touch back just to that guy's side by side. You said he modified it, turbocharged it or whatever, and immediately blew the engine. I know multiple people that my brother-in-law, so the guy I was helping, I mentioned last week, I was helping him with the suspension on his Razor. He and I have some mutual friends, and they all go out riding on their side by sides. And two of them out of the group have modified the engines in theirs and have continually blown things up. So, I don't know what the deal is. Are people getting sloppy? Are the tunes not right? Because it seemed like back
he said his was the Yamaha YZF 1000 or whatever, and then he turbocharged it and had blown it up, then fixed it, and when he put it back together, he left like the wastegate loose, so it was able to build like twice as much boost as it was. So it was building like 40 psi of boost when he unloaded it from the trailer. So he said it was pushing like 500 horsepower for a minute before the head gasket went.
Anything could do 500 horsepower for a minute.
Yeah, I said it was really weird, but had crazy power. So,
wow.
My only other guess for that, Aaron, would be like the guys who don't upgrade anything except just adding the turbo, and they expect those stock internals to handle
a
lot more horsepower and boost and all that. And you see it in the car world too. They get the stuff and expect it to handle it without doing any other upgrades.
I one think of those guys is that most of those engines are built kind of at the ragged edge of, it's kind of like my S2000. I had one back in the day. Those were like an already built engine from the factory. So people were like, "Oh, I'll put headers and exhaust in this." It's like you got 3 more horsepower. Cool. So you have to kind of do something fairly aggressive to get more power, which then, sacrifice comes from somewhere.
As the same with the Mazda Speed 6. Like it was at the max power. You did anything to it and you broke stuff.
Yeah.
Leroy says we have so many windowed Miata blocks at our shop from stock internals taking boost. I'm surprised by that because that block was built for boost, but maybe they just threw too much boost at it. I threw quite a bit of boost at that block back on the Escort, and
solid 8 psi.
No, we were 13 or somewhere around there.
It's not a lot of boost anymore though.
Not anymore. That's what I'm learning. That's what I'm learning. Yeah. So maybe that's the difference. Back in the day, we were a lot more conservative.
What about you, Aaron? Like I didn't get up to much other than just spend all my savings on camping toys.
Yeah. You're gonna have to work some overtime to pay for that. I also did some RV stuff. I haven't done anything off-road related, but I did some RV stuff. We don't use our 27-foot camp trailer very much, and the main reason is because it's got a queen size bed, and I'm a tall guy, and the queen size bed isn't long enough, nor is it wide enough. So I modified. I wish I would have taken a better picture. So this picture off to the far left, in this picture under the window, you can see a piece of plywood. I widened the bed by that much, and in that back corner is a piece of carpet, and that was supposed to be like your nightstand, is that carpeted area. So basically from where the queen bed is now going to go all the way over beyond that carpet, touching the wall, so you can't walk on that side anymore. And then because I'm going to be sleeping there, I had to modify that cabinet where the blue tape is, and otherwise my head, I'd wake up in the middle of the night and sit up and blast my head. So I chopped the cabinet down and put the new bottom back in it and everything. So I've got a friend who does cabinetry, and I'm going to bring him the door, which looks like this one. And this picture has got a mirror on it, and the scrap leftover pieces of this plywood that has the fake veneer wood on it. I'm going to have him put that in instead of the glass to rebuild it. So I'm excited. New mattress showing up at the end of this week. It's going to be comfortable again.
Yeah. Contrary to popular belief, Aaron and his wife do not like touching each other when sleeping.
It's very true.
They like to sleep no, don't touch me.
See, I'm a tall enough guy, but I've several times thought my king size bed feels almost too big. Like my wife's like an arm's length away from me. So I'm surprised that the queen's not big enough for you. Because you sleep in the tent, the rooftop tent, and that's what, a queen size?
No, it's California king in width. No, sorry, it's king size in width, which is wider than a California king. It's king size in width, and then it's even longer than a California king. So it's ginormous up there on the rooftop. I have the second biggest rooftop tent you can get. Leroy says we have a king and it feels like sleeping in a parking lot. I mean, when I was young and small, my wife and I slept in a queen size bed, but nowadays, I move a lot in my sleep, and I don't want to
sleep in here.
Yeah, I don't want to fall off the edge of the bed, so you get a little more real estate with it, with that, and then it's mostly for the length. My feet hang off the bed the way I sleep, and I don't. The queen size bed, it's just a queen or a king is 4 inches shorter in length than a California king. So
I sleep straight up in I'm a side sleeper, so maybe that helps. And I curl my legs a little.
Yeah,
but we have
I stretch out. I stretch out like a starfish when I sleep.
Okay, and that's what it is. Because I've got a queen size bed, and I've got plenty of room as long as it's just no wife or anything, or as long as there's no one besides the wife. Like if the kids or the dog try to hop in the bed, then it's there's no room for you guys. Get out of
here. Montana Dirt Road says that's a flex. I've got the second largest. Technically, no one really buys the largest rooftop tents. Those are the ones that have the 2 ladders. Those are ginormous.
The kind that are on river rafting trip vans.
Yeah. So anywho's, yeah. So now that it's been modified, because I like to modify everything, it should be comfortable to sleep in. So, and we're actually taking it out camping. Since we're not going to South Dakota, we're going to Eastern Oregon, northeastern Oregon. We're going to go visit some Oregon Trail history, some mines, some a bunch of history stuff. We're going over to
you're gonna be by Plush?
Granite. What's the name of the town I'm trying to say?
Sumner.
Outside of Sumner. Yeah, we're heading to Sumner. So
did you talk to Brent about doing that? Are you going with him, or are you just going by yourself?
No, it's just us. So we're gonna do 4-day trip over there, take Thursday, Friday off, and then so we'll have 4 days out there. It's about a 6-hour drive. And thankfully my mother-in-law brought us her Chevy Duramax. So it's a 3/4 ton Duramax that we're going to use to pull our camp trailer over there and back, because ours will inevitably be in the shop. So Montana Dirt Road says he sold his camper a few months back after 10 years of ownership's best day of his life. I can totally see that. This trailer is specifically just a glamping thing. It's a good home base. You don't have to set it up. Coy can attest. Last time we were camping, although he wasn't there for setup, but tear down, it takes 2 hours to put my rooftop tent and everything away when I have the entire family, the vestibule, or people call it an annex. Your bunk beds that you have to build, I got a
Your
lot.
setup took probably 45 minutes longer than my tent trailer to like break down, and my tent trailers takes a minute to break down, so it takes a
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it
that's
was
the number one reason we wanted this this Intech, because it's still, you know, it's I shouldn't say you can take it off road, but you can take it down gravel roads, and it's really lightweight, and I can just pull over and walk inside. There's really no setup other than throwing the jacks down.
So worked on the trailer. Besides that, we just had Father's Day, and I just gotta I gotta flex a little bit more here for Montana Dirt Roads. My wife, she bought me a bunch of things and stuffed them in a basket like she does for the kids for Easter for Father's Day, and one of them was this item right here, the stacked queso crunch kit from Old El Paso.
Have you
So
tried that yet, or
no? It's going camping with us. So I'm
I
excited.
didn't know if you were gonna keep it till like the 5th of July, because like, I mean, we can.
Oh, I know. Well, if all goes well, if all goes well on our camp trip, there'll be more.
There'll be more.
Yeah.
Good.
Montana Dirt Road says his tent is 30 minutes with an annex. Why I bought it and sold the camper. Yeah, here I am flexing. So the stacked queso kit for our audio listeners, this is one of those DIY taco kits that you buy in the grocery store, and it's a hard shell, and it also has soft shells, and it's got queso that you're supposed to put on the soft shell and wrap it around the hard shell. And it's not just any hard shell, it's the hard shells that have the flat bottom, so you can load these things out and they stand up by themselves. So
Rick asks, can you do I think he's trying to say McGrew Trail with your trailer? I'm sure that I could take it on McGrew Trail. I'm sure my wife would ruthlessly kill me. This is kind of her purchase a little bit. She's been wanting one for a long time. She doesn't get enough stuff for herself, so I kind of did that. But I'll just bring a tent. Like, I still like camping in tents.
yeah,
I do too.
Nothing wrong with tents.
Uh,
And also, I got one more Father's Day thing here. And I'm only throwing this out for the podcast because maybe one of our listeners bought this for me for Father's Day or a late birthday present and forgot to send a card or forgot to reach out and let me know. So I'm just putting this out there for the internet. This bad boy showed up on Friday in a Home Depot box on my front porch, addressed to me with my address. No packing slip inside, no gift note or anything like that. I have no idea who bought it for me. I've reached out to a bunch of friends and family. Everybody claims that it wasn't them. For the audio listeners, once again, since I haven't said what it is, this is a Milwaukee laser, and it shoots the laser 3 different directions. And it also comes with a battery and a charger and a case. It's a $600 Milwaukee laser setup. This is the second biggest laser that they sell. I did that for Montana Dirt Roads. The second biggest laser that they sell.
I'm guessing the biggest is the M18 one.
No, the biggest actually shoots 2 horizontal lasers rather than one.
That's pretty awesome. I like that.
It's really cool.
I thought it was super awesome, and I know you like Milwaukee, and so that's why I sent it to you.
Yeah. I've already had someone at work claim that they sent it to me also, who I know wouldn't have bought it for me.
I absolutely bought that for you, and don't worry, you don't feel obliged to buy me something for my birthday. I mean, you could, but it doesn't have to be $600. Even though I spent $600 on you, you could do $200-$300, and I would be totally happy with that.
$5.99. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Don't feel obligated at all, Aaron.
Hang on. Wait a minute. Travis in the comments says it was from him, and he's wishing me a happy Father's Day. So
how would Travis know you even like Milwaukee? Clearly, this is from me. Aaron, why would I? I'm not even known as a liar. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't believe me immediately.
Immediately believe you. Yeah. So whoever it was, thank you. I'm excited to start shooting lasers. and making things plumb and level.
My
and
feelings
square.
aren't hurt that you didn't send me anything at all. Like a cigar would have been cool. It's like $12, but yeah.
Well, when you come over in a few weeks, I'll let you try it, Coy.
Let me laser
I'll,
some stuff.
I'll let you see. I'll let you see how well it works. The gift you bought me.
Let's get a campfire going so we can show it off in the smoke and just laser in the sky.
Laser shot. Yeah, that sounds
Throw
fun.
a couple tires on the fire and shine
Yeah.
it in the smoke.
So, yeah, I really have no idea who got it for me, and we'll may never know. Well, someone said check your credit card. Maybe someone got a hold of your credit card, bought something, and it defaulted to your address rather than going to them. But there was nothing on our credit card. I checked my Home Depot account. There's nothing in the Home Depot account. So, yeah,
I feel like you should be able to call
Did
Home
you,
Depot or something and be like, where did this come from?
it's
out of
possible.
curiosity, did you sign up for any of your reward, like your warranty stuff and all that? Because sometimes with Milwaukee, when you buy stuff, like you register it if maybe you want it and they just sent it to you.
Yeah, but because it came from Home Depot, not from Milwaukee, I thought about that. Maybe I got sent something, but yeah, it came from Home Depot specifically.
Have you considered just returning it, getting $600 cash? I'm assuming you don't have a ton of use for a laser. I don't know.
Coy, someone gifted this to me. I wouldn't do that. I could really use that $600 to pay for a lot of things right now.
Like a
but
king size bed, F-150.
As a gift that somebody sent me, I would totally hang on to it and cherish it. So no, I wouldn't.
It's got to be some family, right? It's like they're just.
My family's not that big, and they've all said no.
Was it secretly your uncle?
I wouldn't think so, but
Here's what's not going to be cool in a couple weeks when somebody's like, "Hey, I really need some help doing this fence," or something that they need a laser for, and then you show up to help them, and they're like, "Man, do you have a laser or anything we could do this with?" And you're like, "I just had one, but I returned it and got $600 cash, bought a suppressor," and the person is going to start crying.
Yeah.
You do a bunch of work down there at the church. Maybe the church decided to gift you something cool.
I thought about it too. I'm like, did somebody buy it for me? And I'm like, man, this guy can't keep things square and vertical and level and stuff. He really needs a laser. He's a terrible carpenter. I don't know.
Well, I would, if I were you, I'd return it and then just claim that you never got it. Like when anybody asks you, like, never had a laser, never needed one. I wish I had a laser, kind of, and then see if they check and send you another one because they think that it didn't go through or something.
They just keep showing up, and I keep returning them and cashing them out.
Oh my goodness!
Infinite money hack.
Yeah.
All right, we have a big announcement, guys.
Yep. So we are taking the month of July off. Life's been busy. We had some plans for July that was going to make scheduling a little bit tricky. But we're taking July off. We, a little time to ourselves. We've been doing the podcast nonstop. Last year was the whole year.
Yeah.
The year before that was almost the entire year.
It was 50 out of 52 the previous year. Yeah.
Yeah. So
and then I think it was 48 out of 52 the previous year.
I'm just saying 8 years in, a month off sounds amazing. So we're going to take the month of July off, do a little bit of R&R, recharge our batteries, and
we picked out some older episodes, so we're gonna keep airing. Like you won't your iTunes account will show a new one every week. We just picked out some cool episodes to
some of our favorites. They are handpicked.
Yeah. And actually, speaking of which, if you are going to the Northwest Overland Rally this weekend, Patty Upton is going to be there, and that's one of the episodes. And if you've heard that episode and you really liked it, please stop by. Tell her hi from us. I might still try and sneak out there for a day trip. But that's another thing that's been kind of mixed with this whole thing. So stop by, say hi to Patty. Tell her about hearing her on the podcast. And yeah, we'll be back in August. But we've got one more week of we've got another episode next week, and then we'll be on our hiatus.
And Rick says we certainly don't have to justify it. Have fun. Rick, what you have to justify is bailing on the Moab trip. So maybe you could rethink about how you should be there for that. We got a group campsite picked out.
You should bring Ben with you, Rick.
We're gonna drink lots of whiskey. It's gonna be fun. I think you'd enjoy yourself.
We also want to thank our sponsor, Patriot Patch. Head over to patriotpatch.co and check out their selection of great patches, shirts, cleaning mats, signs, and stickers. You can also join the Patch of the Month Club for $15 and receive a patch, matching sticker, and artist proof each month.
There's June's Patch of the Month. I liked it. I'm excited to see what July brings. Wrong noise of the Freedom Eagle.
Have tire troubles ever left you deflated? Colby Valve has got you covered. Ever have a valve stem leak? Colby Valve makes reusable and easily replaceable valve stems that don't require you to remove your tire from the wheel. They work with your off-road rig, ATV, side-by-side, commuter vehicle, or even your tractor. Never be left stranded again because of a busted valve stem. They also have a tire repair kit for those punctures that keep you away from doing your favorite thing, wheeling. Make sure to check out colbyvalve.com or ask for them at your local off-road products store.
All right. Montana Dirt Road says I can't wait till July. Got me a 2,300-mile motorcycle adventure across Montana for 10 days. Color me jealous. That sounds like fun. Man.
Yeah, that does sound good.
I'm assuming it's one of the sweet adventure bikes and not one of the cosplay Harleys, but either way, I'm sure it'll be fun. All right, let's jump into the news here. This first article comes from CarBuzz. Ford patents shock-absorbing rock rails. Ford is continually looking for ways to enhance the capability of its off-roaders, and a new patent discovered by CarBuzz filed with the United States Patent and Trademark Office demonstrates this. The Blue Oval has submitted designs for deployable rock sliders with cushioning pads underneath. We've seen deployable rock sliders before with aftermarket outfits like Rockslide Engineering creating rocker panels with neatly integrated deployable sliders. What makes Ford's design slightly different is that its patent discusses cushioned sliders that would be usable in both the stowed and deployed positions, widening the scope of their practicality. In the stowed position, the rock sliders would behave as normal, protecting the rocker panels from damage in collisions with rocks and other off-road obstacles, maximizing available ground clearance. In this position, the protective rails would protrude just below the lower edge of the chassis, remaining out of the way of the turbulent air from the front wheels, thereby increasing aerodynamic efficiency, albeit by a very small degree. But when exiting or entering the car, the sliders could automatically deploy to enable easier ingress and egress. They could also be deployed while in motion. In this state, ground clearance is reduced slightly, but there is even less risk of damage to the rocker panels within which the sliders retract. To achieve the plurality of states, a worm gear would be connected to an electric motor, although other types of motors are potentially suitable. Underneath the metal rock sliders, non-metal shock absorption pads made of rubber, plastic, resin, and other similar materials would provide a slightly higher margin for error before the sliders themselves are damaged. These pads would be easy to replace, allowing one to refresh their vehicle and remove all evidence of hardcore off-roading at a reasonable cost. If the design is approved, it's far more likely that it'll be sold as an additional accessory through Ford Performance Parts. Still, we can't see any obvious drawbacks. The patent was first filed November 2022 and has just been published by the U.S. Patent Office on May 30, 2024. If the design is earmarked for production, it probably won't be long before it's rolled out to your local dealer.
So these pads, they like a monthly thing that you got to change out.
Wah, wah, wah.
I was kind of surprised that it's like a pad versus like a shock, but to absorb.
I don't know how you could do a like I've come down on my rock sliders pretty hard, and
Yeah.
I don't know how a shock could absorb that. It just seems like the
It would have to be like a jounce shock where it still
Yeah.
bottoms out really hard. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting, but
It's a clever idea. My first thought when I heard of this, honestly, was whatever material they put on the bottom that is supposed to absorb needs to not drag and like rock sliders are called slider for a reason. It's for you to slide over an obstacle. If it's
Did you
got too
think
much
it's something
friction,
you put under the slider to absorb it? Because I thought it was something that the slider would have some flex, and then the slider would actually take the hit still, but the pad would let the slider, flex a little bit.
I don't know. When I first read the article, like before I read the article and I just heard what it was from the title, I was thinking of what is it? Rock what is the name of that company? Rock Engineering, Rock Slide Engineering. They have like the sliders that are like the tube that's kind of hollow and it drops out steps. This though is like the whole slider
yes,
rotating
yeah.
down.
So this is a slider with a tube coming off of the slider, and it looks like it hinges up and down. It doesn't.
Yeah.
That's how it deploys. Is it just kind of is on a hinge?
I honestly only like this for those worm gear motors that are going to power this and be able to withstand these kind of hits, because I feel like there are so many cool projects like that I could do with that.
You could take them and
I
put
could
them to use.
repurpose them into active arrow or snowplow, or I mean, there's just a lot of things I feel like, I could probably use them to steer like a trailer. Like if you had a small off-road trailer and I had just a little really strong electric worm drive motor, I could probably put a steering axle on that thing and just have like where a worm drive, like it'll stay in one position when you leave it there, unlike a lot of other electric motors. So I'm more excited about harvesting parts off of these.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm just curious what kind of pad material they put on it. I don't want it to create a bunch of friction. Hopefully they've thought of that. I'm sure they have. Their engineers,
high absorption.
They get some feedback. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's probably just there for when an impact happens to go boom.
Yeah. But if it's going to flex, that just makes me think that it's going to wrinkle down a rock or something and just totally slow you down.
Watch, it's just a like cutting board pad, just Darylin on the underneath.
Yeah.
Like, oh wow.
Well, our next news story comes to us from Motor Trend, and it is that Mopar just dropped the 24 Jeep Gladiator Rubicon Mopar edition. So, for the 14th consecutive special edition, Mopar Custom Vehicles has dropped. And for 2024, Mopar has elected to focus its customizing on 250 limited edition Rubicon trim Jeep Gladiators. So, like we were discussing before the show, I haven't even known that there was a Mopar special edition that they've been doing ever, let alone for 14 years. I've seen Coy mention it, and I agree. I've seen some vehicles that say Mopar on them, but I didn't know that was like a special edition type of a thing. So, It says, as we speak, these are dropping at select dealerships around the United States. Nowhere else are they available, only the US. They are built on the Gladiator's Rubicon trim, and they feature a menacing black clear coat exterior carrying a one-of-a-kind topographical Rubicon Trail graphics on the hood, bedsides, and tailgate. So that actually is kind of neat, these graphics, especially that they are of the Rubicon Trail. The exterior graphics are accented with a red tracer and highlighted with the Jeep Performance Parts logo on the hood and bedsides. The Mopar 24 Gladiator rides on standard 17-inch aluminum wheels with painted black pockets, mounted with Falken all-terrain tires. Power comes courtesy of a 285 horsepower, 3.6-liter V6 Pentastar. So nothing changed in the power department. Inside the cabin, custom two-tone catskins leather seats carry black and maraschino red surfaces with embossed Omega M Mopar logos in front. A matching maraschino red center console armrest and seat bolsters provide additional color contrasting, along with red accent stitching on the steering wheel, seats, and instrument panels. Custom serialized Mopar 24 badge sits on the leading panel of the center console just behind the shifter. Each buyer receives a Mopar 24 owner's kit that features a personalized certificate of authenticity with serialized vehicle build number, a special rendering of the vehicle by the Mopar design team, and more. They don't say what the and more is. My favorite part is that buyers also receive an 83-piece Jeep Performance Parts tool kit presented in an attractive reusable gift box. Dedicated tool pockets provide efficient organization and easy accessibility. The expandable bag provides plenty of room for customers to add their own tools. Is it just me, or is Jeep the only company that provides tools for their vehicles?
I'm curious what all tools they are. Do they have like?
I actually just found the picture of the tool bag.
I hope there's a bunch of like ring and pinion rebuild tools and shims, and axle puller stuff. I'd like the ball peen hammer so you can knock some, pound the body damage back out.
So the picture shows there is a ball peen hammer, vice grips, adjustable crescent wrench. It's got 2 sets of Allen keys, which is interesting because I would think that one would be metric and one would be SAE. Maybe one of them is star drive and one of them is Allen keys.
Nah, I'm sure they're metric and standard because it probably has a bunch of Fiat stuff on it. So there's metric.
Yeah. They've got some sockets, some deep impact rated sockets, couple screwdrivers, needle nose pliers, ratchets, and then combination open end box end wrenches is what I see here. That sure doesn't look like 73 pieces, but
it's got a little mini breaker bar there too.
Oh yeah, yep.
So it's got an adjustable hammer, a ball peen hammer, and vice grips. Very important.
Leroy Engineering says, and that crazy long breaker bar. They definitely could have made it longer for the size of this tool roll. They could have fit a 6-inch longer, maybe even 8-inch longer breaker bar in there. Montana Dirt Road says that they're right-handed and left-handed Allen keys, so that's why they've got 2 sets of them.
I do like those black sockets, though. Those are impact sockets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see an impact gun, but they threw some impact sockets on there. So when you start really going crazy with that hammer and your ratchet,
So does that mean that that's an impact vice grip as well? Because it's black?
No, I don't think so. I'm not sure that's how it works. But
so I found
you guys in the comments are really doing great.
On Mopar's website, do you guys know how much this kit costs?
It's probably $685.
Not terrible. Not terrible. $548.70.
Oh my
500.
goodness.
It would be,
Yeah.
Snap-on would be cheaper.
Oh,
I
and
like
they
that
say
it has
what
a
vehicles it's ready for.
what'd you say?
They have a vehicle fitment guide for it too.
I like that it
Hmm.
has a shoulder strap so you can carry it out with you, because that's, I mean, $500. That's easily the most expensive thing that I would have in my vehicle. So
I
you might as
mean,
well take it with you.
there were sales for Father's Day when you go to Home Depot or Lowe's and you buy their house brand tools, and you get for $99, you get twice as many tools and it comes in a toolbox.
Yeah.
So, and they've
Just
got lifetime warranties on them.
just go buy gear wrench, and then at least your wrenches have ratchets in them. You know.
Oh, so I'm looking at the old one that's on Amazon. It's got the tan bag, and it comes with electrical tape. And here, let's see if it'll load up here. That might be the rest of the parts that they're missing.
That's a similar looking kit.
Yeah. It's got some
Maybe
baling
those are
wire in there, some zip ties, some electrical tape.
I like that one has a trim remover pry bar for like popping off door panels and
Uh-huh.
A-pillar stuff.
Little razor knife.
I just kind of want the bag. Like, you know how many like little airplane shots of alcohol you could have in there, and like then you can pack that out and roll it out, and it's just like, what do you want? We have
oh my goodness.
137.
I wish
shots.
I was good at I wish I was good at sewing. I would love to make some custom bags like that. That would be a lot of fun. All right. Well, let's get back to this. It says everywhere you look on the Mopar 24, there are unique touches for the off-roading connoisseur. Mopar has either added or upgraded standard equipment, including heavy-duty rock rails with step assist, triple hoop grill guard. Can you pull up that picture? Because I need you guys to see this triple hoop grill guard. 3-piece body-colored hardtop, trifold hard tonneau cover, spray and bed liner, grab handles front and rear, custom Mopar tailgate badge, Mopar headliner, black sill trim, and all-weather floor mats. Look at that triple hoop. That is so aggressive to block things from hitting the very bottom of your radiator or
Yeah.
the very top of your bumper.
It was just like a foot taller. It could protect the headlights. Remember when Jeep used to make editions that were like Black Ops and like kind of cool, actually?
Yeah.
Pepperidge Farms remembers.
Yeah. Well, the good news is it's going to cost you a lot of money to be this unique. The MSRP is $70,295. That does not include your destination charge. All of the units will be built exactly the same for the U.S. market only. Just so you know, if you buy a base Gladiator Rubicon, it's $56,825. So it's only like $13,000 some odd dollars, $13,500 to upgrade to this very unique model.
Well, looking at the cat skin seats and the bag, there's $3,000.
I like Badlands' comment. Jeep really needs to sell a trim with no bumpers, fenders, axles, doors, etc. All the stuff that all the wheel. I agree.
That
Yeah.
would be pretty amazing to buy a chassis.
Not even that. Like, all right, it's got the lockers and the axles, the stuff that they could have it where it's like, here's the stuff that you want.
I would like to point out that Jeep could easily just sell one with Dana 60s from that. They're pretty cheap. Like that would be. I feel like that'd be a fairly popular option as well. Like, hey, this one already has 60s. Like,
yep, just tick that box. It costs you an extra $8,000.
Yeah, done. And it probably costs Jeep an extra $700 on their end. Like,
yeah, that would be impressive.
Yeah.
Well, the last part of the article mentions that the Mopar 24 Jeep Gladiator joins the exclusive club as the latest limited edition Mopar modified vehicle straight from the factory. and then it gives a list of all the vehicles that they've done it before. And this might be the reason why. I'm going to just go through the list real quick. Starting in 2010, they did it with the Challenger, and then the Dodge Dart, then the Charger, the Chrysler 300, Dodge Dart, Challenger, Charger, Ram Rebel, Challenger, Durango, Challenger, Ram 1500, Durango, Challenger, Charger, and now the Jeep Gladiator. So,
So what you're saying
of-
is I'm gonna see this at a street takeover doing burnouts in the middle of a closed down intersection any
it's
day
a
now.
it's a good possibility, yeah. So, there you go. Go out, spend your money wisely.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's time for the main topic, but before that, we've got to share the voicemail that kind of inspired us to redo this main topic.
Hi, I've been listening for a little bit now, and I still haven't figured out what kind of vehicles you guys drive. I mean, I know there's a Nissan, a Toyota, and an FJ, but don't know anything else about them. I only listen, I don't watch. Don't try and make me watch. I won't do it because I can't. So, I have eyes, I just listen while I drive. So, anyways, let's get some rig rundowns. I'd like to know the details, the dirty details, colors, tires, wheels, axles, if there are any, gear settings, all that stuff, all the fun stuff, even setups inside, interior, how many cup holders you got, how many phone holders, you running iPads, you running phones, how's your navigation, how's your comms, all that stuff, let me know. Lights, everyone loves lights, let's hear about those. All right, thanks, bye.
Well, we appreciate him calling in and prompting us to do an episode about this. We have done one before. It was back at episode 400, so that's a year and a half ago. So it's been a little bit ago, not too long ago, but we're going to go more in depth in this episode than we did in that one. And stuff has changed in the last year and a half. Mostly Ben's body panel has been removed and put back on like 6 times. So that's probably the biggest changes.
Currently still off. It might go back on this week.
Yeah.
It might.
Yeah, it might go on this week. You just never know. We'll have to do an update next weekend to let everybody know that it is back on.
So let's start off with how what got us into wheeling. I'll go ahead and start off with I've always loved the outdoors, wanted to get deeper in them, farther away from large groups of people, while challenging my driving skills. Like my grandpa and dad and I would go out fishing, and we would go deep. Like we didn't like being around other people stealing our honey hole fishing spots. So
Ben, you need to reword everything you're saying. Like, should we
No.
call the police?
No, like we got deep in the woods because we wanted to get away from other people while we were
Yeah.
trying to fish. So it was in the back of Grandpa's Jeep truck, or my dad had a Baja Bug, or his Dodge truck. Like he had an old like 54 or something like that, and that's what we took out fishing. So like as I got older and got my own stuff, it was like, oh, I remember Grandpa's Jeep truck. Was I would walk by it at his house and be like, I want something that's a little more capable than that. And so after I got married, I did that. But I wanted to go farther because it seems people also want to get away from other people, and every now and then I enjoy being around people, but sometimes I just want to get away from them all.
Mm-hmm.
I would too, with the obvious trauma from your childhood.
Yes.
I got into it, I guess, when I was young, saying kind of similar-ish to Ben. My dad had a first-gen Toyota pickup, and he'd drag us around the woods. My dad liked to go fishing in like fire ponds and all these weird spots. He'd drag us up there. So got exposed to it then, and then my teens, I picked up also a first gen, an '83, I think it was, Toyota truck, and it had been rolled. It had been one of my buddies, and so I bought another cab from a junkyard and cab swapped this truck. I had to swap the dash and everything. It was way too much for like a 17-year-old to be doing, honestly, but did that, and I took the giant body lift he had out of it, and then I ran it around and did a bunch of wheeling until I rolled it, and then ended up getting rid of it. But I was kind of into racing and was super into that for many, many years. And then I bought my FJ. I'm going to say late 20s. I'm not, honestly, 2012, I guess, however old I was then. I bought an FJ Cruiser, and I kind of just bought it because I liked the way they look. I wanted to be able to go up to the snow or whatever, and I wanted to tow my race car around a little bit with it. And I just like Toyotas. And then started kind of doing some more camping and stuff, and just started having kids, and just the off-roading and air quotes overlanding stuff was a lot more family friendly than racing. So I just kind of fell into it from there and been doing it ever since.
Well, I grew up camping. We would camp every year in Central Oregon. Sometimes it's tent camping, but mostly it was in a travel trailer, but it was a little small guy. It was only like 14 feet long or something. But I definitely enjoyed the outdoors as a kid. And then when I got married, didn't really have the opportunity to do that because I didn't have a vehicle to get me out there. And then at some point we needed to buy a truck because we owned a house, and you have projects. You need to go to the box stores and buy your plywood and your insulation or whatever you're working on, your siding. So bought a truck, and I knew that if I was going to buy a truck, I wanted something that could be 4-wheel drive and could get me out to the outdoors. And I was pretty fed up with the yeah, it was the second largest camper of the family, I'll tell you what.
Montana Dirt Road's on fire in the comments tonight. He's killing it. He's just killing it, man.
Yeah, he is. So I bought the second best off-road vehicle a guy could get, the Nissan Frontier. And yeah,
I'm gonna give you more credit for that. That was good. Second best off-road truck you can get.
I had my fill of going camping and having people be belligerent and ignorant and playing dubstep until 4:00 in the morning. And I was done camping at those places. So I'm like, I'm going places where those people won't be. I found myself a rooftop tent. Way back in the day when CVT first kicked off, they were doing these group buys, and I got in on a group buy and got mine for 30% off, and drove down and picked it up and made a big 4-day weekend of driving around Oregon, camping with it. And it was a great time. Yeah. That's kind of what got me into it.
The group buy thing, I feel like, depending on the age of our listeners, group buys were a huge deal back in the day, and it would be like a lot of forums. And I was like, hey, if we get over 30 people on this, it'd be like you get 10% off, 20. You get 30 people to buy 30%, like huge discounts. Now it'll be on Facebook, like, hey, if we get 72 people, you get a 5% discount. And I'm like, but I don't even care. It's like $30. Yeah. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. Well, also back in the day with these group buys on these forums, there might be a manufacturer that didn't make something, but if you got 100 people on board, they would start manufacturing something for your vehicle, whether it was lockers or a new grill, an aftermarket grill for your sport compact car, all kinds of stuff.
You want to know what killed group buys? Pelfrey. The Toyota bumper company.
Oh my goodness, I remember that.
Living off group buys, and then went bankrupt and just left hundreds of people in the wind with like $4,000 of their money.
Yeah. Wow. That's a good throwback there, Coy.
All right, guys. Now we're going to jump into past rigs. I've had a lot of past rigs, so we're just going to talk about the off-roadable ones. I had like I mentioned earlier, I had an 83 Toyota pickup truck, short box. It ended up having 4 inches of lift after I was done with it. Swapped it over to round headlights because they're way cooler than square ones. And I had some Pro Comp X Terrain tires, which were like knockoff Mickey Thompson Baja Claws that I ran on there. They were massive tires too. Absolutely massive 33 by 1250 15s.
Whoa.
And, yeah, it was a sweet truck. And then I also had, this one hurts me a little bit still, I had an absolute cherry 1979 Ford Bronco. No rust. Back window went up and down. It was an automatic. Somebody had swapped I think it was a 390 big block into it. Absolute perfect vehicle. I sold it for like $900. Just like,
You were such an idiot. You were such an idiot.
I bought it for like $1,200. Ran it all over the place, and then you couldn't buy the steering wheel off one of these for $900 now. But so be it. That's my life. So if I ever do buy a Ford Bronco, I want everybody to know that I am a Bronco guy. I had one of the coolest ones, in my opinion.
Well, as far as off-road rigs, not counting my all-wheel drive Subaru, one of them was an Outback, and we did take that off-road on Forest Service roads. But I had a previous Nissan Frontier. It's actually what got me started. Was I had a 2005 Nissan Frontier before I owned this 2008 Frontier. So I traded that truck in because I bought it, and I drove it for a couple years, but whoever owned it before me, they had I think a cat that peed in the carpet in the back, and I shampooed it. I had it professionally cleaned. Like I couldn't get rid of that smell, and it wasn't always there, but on the hot days, your car's sitting in a parking lot after you went to like an overland meetup at Home Depot, and you get in and the sun's just been heating up everything, and you get inside and it's just ammonia city inside that thing. It was
the second
so
worst
bad.
possible.
Yeah, so I went and traded it in for a 2008. The reason why I did that is because I had done a HID projector retrofit to my headlights, and 2008 was the newest you could get that still had the same headlights. In 2009 they changed headlights, and I wanted to keep those headlights. So I now realize that was a terrible mistake on my part, but it's all good. My 2008 has been real good to me. And then besides that, I've also had a 1998 Stewart and Stevenson's LMTV M1078. So Montana Dirt Roads, this is the largest vehicle in my family. No one in my family has had anything this big, so I'm topping everybody with this guy. 3 windshield wipers, just as many as Coy's truck.
Yeah. I want to point out that if you're a longtime listener to the show, Aaron used to get this thing absolutely buried what seemed like weekly. Like,
Yep.
it was amazing show content. So it's like, yeah. So I took it out, absolutely got it stuck. I think I get out a couple weeks from now. And then a couple weeks later, yep, got it out. Took it out, got it absolutely buried, but it was great show content.
Well, yeah, I'd leave it for a few days stuck wherever it was on my property. And then the old Nissan, just winch it out with my Warren winch. Took it up.
I also want to jump in the comment here. Chuck Holt says he sold a 76 Bronco. So that's the original body style Bronco, the one that's worth the most money probably, with a 351 Cleveland and a 4-speed for $4,500. Whatever pain I feel, which is quite a bit, that is probably at least double monetary wise, if not more. That if it was a rusted out crap shell, would be worth 15-20 grand right now.
Yeah.
Let's see. My first rig was this 2008 2-door Jeep JK. Then my family outgrew it. Too many children, not enough seatbelt.
Is that bed linered?
Yes, it was bed linered.
Oh my god, I did not know this. And
not exterior, just interior.
It's like snapping into focus right now.
Yeah. Actually, the front bumper was bedlinered. I bedlinered that, but it was really terrible job. Let's see. And then I transitioned to a 1982 Jeep Wagoneer, which I spent more time fixing it than driving it. But the few times I got to drive it, it was pretty fun to drive. I like that rig. I miss it every now and then. And then
I went wheeling with Ben one time in this thing, and there was a hole in his gas tank, and it spilled fuel the entire time, and everyone behind him was nauseous from the smell.
Hey, when I was in Moab this last time, there were a lot of Jeeps, really nice Jeeps,
I didn't have a hole in my fuel tank.
that their fuel cell breathers they just left, and they dumped gas everywhere.
I think it was my
I thought your leaf spring rubbed a hole in the side of your fuel tank.
no, not in that one.
In which one did that happen?
No,
What a sentence! What a
no, there was my fueler neck did get knocked loose once.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe that was what it was. It was on the Wheelin' with Warriors trip. So we're in this
When
conga
it
line,
snowed? Yeah.
and there's like 120 vehicles in a line going 6 miles an hour. And
I was also running really rich. That carburetor was needing very tuned. I was running super rich. I think it was the next time I went out that I disconnected the neck.
Lifted Xterra asks Ben, but I think he means Aaron, thinking about moving to a newer D21 Fronty at any point.
So I'm actually really confused about that sentence because the newest Frontier is a D41, so maybe you typed it wrong. There is a D21. I looked it up, and that's like the old hard body is the D21. So I'm definitely not going to a hard body. I
Maybe
probably
he's just
would
saying
not.
a newer hard body, not one of the like late 80s one.
If he's referring to the newest Frontier, the D41, I'm definitely not going to buy one. So if I'm going to spend brand new money on a truck, it wouldn't be a Nissan. They are not competitive right now. They just don't compete. It's very unfortunate. But if I'm going to buy something now, I'm going to buy it built from a manufacturer. So it might be a Chevy Colorado Bison ZR2.
Or a Jeep Gladiator Mopar edition.
Probably not that. I'd love to buy a Bronco, but I really need a bed. So Bronco would need to step it up and make their own setup like that. Ranger. So
the new Rangers looked really nice when we saw them at SEMA.
Yeah. Or I'm honestly not opposed to this 4th gen Tacoma nonsense that everybody's afraid of because it's got a hybrid engine in it. I think that's just going to make it all the much better.
I saw a video the other day of just the 4-cylinder turbo one, and the dude put the riciest blow off valve on it, and he's like ripping down a gravel road, just pshawing and it activated something inside me where I was like, maybe I need this. I don't know.
Yeah, you can get the hybrid only. I think the hybrid has 2 options in the TRD if you go that option.
I think everything is a turbocharged 4 in the new Tacoma. I don't think they have a V6 anymore. It's different horsepower levels of the turbocharged 4.
Yeah, it's like 3 different levels plus the hybrid. After the Wagoneer that I spent more time working on than driving, I got another rig that I spent more time working on than driving, which was this 91 Jeep Cherokee XJ. I replaced everything except for the transmission being going out on me. I lost first gear. That was a fun drive home, wasn't it, Aaron?
Yeah. Couldn't stop at stoplights.
Yeah.
You had to do the old long coast.
Shoulder still hurts in my
I bet.
Yeah. But an honorable mention, Aaron, that you left out was we built the Stink Bug.
That's true. We did.
While not exclusively a off-road rated vehicle. The 1998 Volkswagen Beetle lifted with light truck tires and a wrought iron roof rack and a tire carrier and a light bar and what was that? A curvy street sign? It's a curvy road street sign.
Yes. Yeah.
Skid plate. Definitely is a rig that Aaron and I put a lot of love into. Aaron more so than I, but I love on the road on it.
Montana Dirt Roads says it's pronounced Cherokee to be politically correct. I would like to point out that I am 1/16 Cherokee, and speaking for my people, we say Cherokee. So
Cherokee.
You're canceled now for trying to tell me
Yeah.
what me and my nation call it.
Uh,
Are you in the second largest Native American nation in the U.S.?
Possibly.
Second largest. Yeah. All right. Well, our current rigs, I am, like I said earlier, I'm rocking a gray 2008 Nissan Frontier. It's got the Nismo package. I bought it with 40,000 miles on it. It currently has 148,000 miles on it, and most of them have been hard miles. It's got a sunroof, which I hate. It came factory with the Rockford Fosgate sound system, which I use to listen to podcasts. I don't even listen to music hardly ever in the truck. The Nismo package has upgraded Bilstein shocks, skid plates, the rear e-locker, and some decals and some stitching on the floor mats or whatever that said Nismo. And when I purchased it, it came with a hard roll-up tonneau cover, which was unique. Never seen one before.
It was hard, but it rolled up.
Yeah, kind of like those when you go to those storage unit places and they've got those doors that roll up into a spot rather than opening all the way up. They rolled up into a yeah. And so imagine having a 5-foot bed and you lose an entire foot to a roll-up tonneau cover at the very front of your truck. So now you have a 4-foot bed. Might as well be a Ford Escape Sport or Ford Explorer Sport Track. Chuck says, did it come with a Dana 44 rear axle? Yes, it is a Dana 44 variant rear axle. Never had an issue.
I've got a now tan 2006 Toyota 4Runner. Bought it with 176,000 miles on it. Currently has 253, and it was camo painted when I owned it. Bone stock, or when I first bought it.
God's plaid.
God's plaid, yes.
Yeah. And prior to that, it was what color?
Salsa red.
Salsa.
It's just maroon.
No, salsa red.
If you know the color, say the color. It's fun. It's fun to say the manufacturer's names for these colors, but yeah, it's maroon.
Yeah. Darker red.
I have I wrote in the notes here tan, but apparently Sandstorm, 2010 FJ Cruiser. Had 27,000 miles on it when I bought it, and I'm up to 148,000. And I'd really like to slow that down, but hey, man's got to drive.
You forgot this part.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. It's a Trails Team Edition, which is a sweet appearance package. So my roof is not white. It matches the entire body color. So my roof is also Sandstorm/tan.
I honestly wish that was standard for the FJ Cruisers, how they did the Trails Team.
That's the only reason I went for a Trails Team Edition is I didn't like the white roofs, and they didn't really make all white ones at that point very much. So
so you're saying that your drapes match your carpet?
Absolutely. The the counters match the lino, if you know what I'm saying.
Lifted Xterra says nothing will ever compare to Dodge's statutory grape purple color. I didn't know that was a thing. That's pretty funny. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That reminds me of Jones Soto with the MF grape,
Yes.
the Samuel Jackson grape.
Let's talk mods. So tan interior with 8 cup holders, patches covering halfway the back, gun and off-road. I've got a Monster Meg phone holder, seat mounted RAM mount for a tablet that I normally run Gaia GPS. I've got Garmin InReach Mini. I have a front and rear facing dash cam / mirror. It's like electric. It records and then it does reverse and forward facing. Let's see. I've got a tan Duluth trading seat cover, tan Duluth trading seat company seat cover, which I bought that. What was it? Just around Christmas, and I really like those. By the way, they're pretty hefty. I've got Maltby Fab skids and Prinzy style roof rack. Exofab sliders, 3 Monkeys hitch mounted tire swing out, Northwest Trail Innovations open top front bumper, Icon 2.5 coilovers that are going to be mounted this week. KC highlights rock lights in pink because deals, Raptor lined baby poop yellow because that's the color I really wanted apparently. War on Xeon 10S power tank. I've got a 10 and 20 pound tanks. JBA upper control arms, tons of flashy amber lights and ditch lights. I've got a Rough Country control panel. Dirty Life DT1s, black with a chrome rock ring. Milestar Patagonia, 30. They're 285. The 33s, the 285 metric style ones. I've got an 80 series.
Are those 17s?
Yeah, they're 17-inch tires. 80 series snorkel because that was the only option at the time when I decided to do a snorkel. And I use a Cyclone style.
The only option for Forerunners snorkels was an 80 series when you did yours.
He has the stepchild Forerunner.
I've got
Keep
the
that in
best.
mind.
Yeah, I've got the.
Are you sure it was the only option on Amazon?
No, it was the only option at the time. About 3 months after I did mine, who was it? What's the name of that company?
ARB.
Yeah, ARB came out with one after years of people asking for them. And then I
did a group buy.
They should have done it. There was lots of people trying to get him to do a group buy. Actually, I've got ARC LED headlights. I've got an Anytone ham radio that is still yet to be wired up, along with a couple of Baofeng handhelds and a handful of FRS radios for.
Don't tell people you have Baofangs. That's not.
Yeah,
it's not cool.
Yep, they get offended by that.
But
But I've got the FRS radios for spotting or kids running around camp. Skinny Medic off of his Medical Gear Outfitters, the Off-Road Podcast built first aid kit, along with a homemade kit with extra goodies for boo-boos. Running factory running gear, I've got Timbren bump stops, and I can't think of anything else except for I've got not a Pelican, a Plano box in the trunk that I have all of my recovery gear cleaned up. Factory gears, no lockers, because that stuff costs money, and I haven't acquired enough of it. And I've got
your
cemented.
list is pretty long.
I've got cemented tuning tune as well. Yeah, I just spend my money in terrible places, but honestly, a lot of this stuff has been like Facebook deals or podcast deals that we've gotten over the years, or small stuff here and there, like my Garmin InReach my wife got me for Christmas one year.
I like Chuck Holt. You got a welder. You can always link and lock everything. Link and lock the
Don't
weld.
do it. Don't do
No,
it, Ben.
I want to be able to drive.
Don't do it.
You can get Facebook deals on Lincoln Lockers. Guys will lock them for you for cheap.
I mean, I've got a welder here in the garage that could probably do it,
Don't do it.
but I'm not going
Don't
to
do it. Don't do
I
it.
don't want that type of lock.
Well, you can get Facebook deals on rear ends on lockers.
So,
I've shared
Hang
them.
on,
with
hang on. You can link
on
and lock
several
it
occasions.
and then get a real locker later, like you would be taking.
all right,
that.
so just to share more of my grief from this last weekend, is I was set up to buy a FJ rear axle with e-locker this last weekend, and the
I
night
got one of
before-
those. They're super sweet. You would have loved it.
the guy the night before tells me, "Oh, a guy just put a deposit down on it. If you really want it, you've got to pay me the full price ahead of time." I'm like, I'm not getting ripped off by giving you the money before I have the product in my hand. This is an axle.
Yeah, that sounds a little scammy.
That it sounded too scammy to me, and I was a little upset. And I'm just like, whatever, I'll deal without it. And I've been kind of keeping my eye on Facebook Marketplace for because I've seen a couple pop up. So
They
that's
are.
Yeah, the
I
money
demand.
you're saving, the money you're going to save by not going to Montana and camping for a while, that should easily pay for it. Easily.
Yep. I'm just hoping I can
Yeah.
find one here soon. We'll see. Coy, what about you?
Obviously I have the FJ Cruiser, so I have Radflow 2.5 shocks all the way around. I have SPC upper A arms, Total Chaos lower A arms, Metaltech long travel rear suspension. Of course, I did the body mount shop because Toyota, and an Ironman off-road Panhard bar, all pro heavy duty dimple dice sliders, and an all pro aluminum front skid plate. And I would love, I repeat, love the all pro transmission skid, but they got bought out and quit making it. So if anybody's selling one of those for, 400 Tacoma, they all fit. I would love that. And then I have a Trailworks front tube bumper. I did the washer reservoir relocation because I put a bumper on it, and the Toyota FJ Cruiser located the washer reservoir in the front corner of the front bumper, so it looks like it has a snaggle tooth washer reservoir hanging out in the open when you put a bumper on. The worst. They changed that in 2010 when they updated. It made a lot of people upset. I have a Warn 9.5 XP winch Metaltech light bar mount that they made a light bar mount for these that attached to the factory rack. I'm still running the factory rack. Let's see. I have Vision X first gen 6.9 light cannons, the rigid side shooter front pods. They're just lights that shine to the side and forward, just little pods. I think they're fog pattern. And then I have a combination of rigid and Lux rock lights. I have a homemade shovel mount that I also have mounted on there. I'm not even really sure the technical name, but it's aluminum C-Track, which I use for my Dragonfly tarp awning. And then I have a roof mounted. It replaced kind of the factory dome lights and put different ones in there. And then it is also a console for radio. So I have a ham radio in there, which is in a Linco DR138T dual band radio. I have a President CB. I don't remember the exact model, but President is a brand. 102-inch whip. I use Garmin Overlander GPS. It's the first gen one. I like it. There's a lot of mixed reviews on it, but I was already kind of in the Garmin family, so I'm kind of used to how they work. And Viair onboard air with the 1 gallon tank. And then I got a Rubbermaid drawer slide out of a old cop car and cut that down and rebuilt the side of it to fit in my FJ. And then I have the Interco Bird Dog wheels, which kind of have, they're not for sure not bead locks, but they're like an early version of the, bead grip wheels. They have a bead retention ring in there. I have those all powder coated wrinkle black. And then I run a Last US Bag seat caddy on my back seat, which is I fill with extra food, my winch remote. I mean, I got a spare tire, flat tire kit in there, all kinds of stuff. And then I'm running a Mickey Thompson MTZ Legend tires in a 315, so 35-ish. And that pretty much covers it.
Well, for me, I kind of listed these things in the order that I did them to my Nissans, plural, because some of the work I did to my first truck, and then I passed those parts over to my second truck. So I made myself a custom roof basket for my truck. It nestles in the factory roof rack. Kind of a neat thing. It makes it really low profile. I installed my HID retrofitted lights from the last truck. I rocked steel Nissan wheels with BFG KM2s, which was a 255 85 16, so my pizza cutters. And the first lift I did to that truck was a 2-inch spacer lift up front and a 2-inch shackle lift in the rear. Lifted Xterra says the golf cart drop-in basket. No, this I bought a bunch of square tube and I just welded it all up myself, and I made it removable. It would clamp itself down. I welded some brackets so you could bolt lights to it, left, right, front, rear. And in the very front, I had a piece of angle where I screwed some plastic to the face of it, so it actually looked like the Xterras, where they had that plastic fascia on it for cutting down on the wind. So mine was completely custom. So my first lift was a 2-inch puck spacer up front and 2-inch shackle lift in the rear. I have a Cobra 75WX ST CB radio. That's the one where all the controls are in the mic itself, and you just have to put this little tiny box somewhere, which is mounted under my driver's seat. I've got an old school Garmin GPS unit. I have that still because I use it to tell me how fast I'm going because my speedometer's off. And also I have a backup camera wired into that Garmin. So I bought the DIY Trail Gear rock sliders and welded those up. And I didn't weld them to my frame. I used existing holes in my frame and threaded bosses in my frame, in my fully boxed Nissan frame. It's not one of those Toyota frames that are like a C channel. Mine is a fully boxed frame. And then I eventually went to a 3-inch puck spacer up front and a custom rear leaf pack. The 2-inch shackle lift was a terrible idea, at least for Nissans. The Nissans have pretty flat leaf springs, and when I put that shackle lift, it actually inverted my leaf spring. So I went to a local leaf spring manufacturer in Tacoma, Washington, just down the street from where I lived, and they added a couple leaves. They added a little 1-inch spacer block, re-arched all my springs, and they took that shackle lift out and put the factory one back in, and I gained like 7 inches of lift in the rear. So I had a pretty serious rake to my truck, but I liked it because I usually haul a lot of firewood, so it takes it out. And the puck spacer is something that you put on top of your strut, just to push your strut down. It's not a body lift. Let's see here. I traded that tonneau cover on Craigslist to a dude that had a exact body colored canopy. So that's a pretty cool deal. He said that his wife had trouble backing up because the canopy obscured your rear vision so much, and it definitely does, but I like the canopy way more than the tonneau cover. So straight across trade, that was a great deal.
He should have bought
I
her an
have-
FJ. Then she would have had plenty of visibility.
Yeah. I mentioned I got that CVT tent, which I bolted directly to the roof rack and didn't use the basket much anymore. I have an ARB front bull bar bumper. And back then I had an Ingo 10K winch. A friend of mine made me a custom rear bumper for it. In the cab, I have a Blue Sea fuse distribution block that I run main power to, and then I branch all of my switches off of. And then I put in where your coin holder is and your sauce packet holder in the center console. I dremeled that out and I put in a custom 6 switch panel by the shifter. I also added aftermarket heated seats at that same time, where you pull your cloth off your seat and you slip these little units underneath and get it all wired up. Those were from Amazon and they lasted about 1.5 years before they started to fail. I also wired those up so you could use them anytime without the key. So there'd be times where I'd come out to my truck and the battery would be completely dead because I left a seat heater on or bumped the seat heater on. So yeah, that wasn't good. Under the hood, I've got an ARB single air compressor, and I fabricated a custom mount for it that bolts on, triangulates to some stuff under the hood. Let's see here. I've got 3 out of 5 legitimate aftermarket skid plates. The front 2 skid plates I'm still rocking are factory skid plates, of which I've changed both of them out at least one time. 9-inch LED lights on the front bumper, a 10-inch pusher fan on my auxiliary transmission cooler, to help keep the tranny temperatures down. I upgraded to a Warn Xeon 10S winch. I did a 2-inch body lift because I was trying to be the first person to ever put a Nissan Titan fuel tank under their vehicle. So Frontiers have a 21 point something gallon fuel tank, and the Titan has a 28 gallon fuel tank. And because it's the same frame, the theory was that you could bolt one up. I've never actually confirmed if anyone has ever done it. When I bought one from a wrecking yard, brought it home, it turns out that you'd have to move a boy, what I'm trying to think of here. It's a cross. We got to move the evap canister, but there's a cross member in the way. They have to move forward or backward to make everything clear. And until I get a lift, that's just not the kind of work I want to try to do on my truck, laying on the ground, chopping a cross member out and re-welding it in a new spot. So
do you have a Titan gas tank to still do this?
Yeah, it's sitting in my barn. I paid
nice.
$125 for it, so it's just still sitting there. And I hope that maybe whatever fuel pump the Titan has, maybe he uses the same exact plug as the Frontier. So hopefully it's plug and play. Who knows? Never know. And so I did that body lift to fit it because the Titan fuel tank is taller in addition to being longer. And there's no way it would have fit underneath the bed. I actually dropped my fuel tank so I could test fit it, and it banged into the bottom of my bed on the underside.
You did all this for 6 more gallons of gas?
It's a big deal when you only get 12 miles a gallon.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that was the idea. Yeah, I did have to get a steering gear extension. It came with longer radiator hoses with the kit, but I never put the longer radiator hose on ever, and I never had it flex and pop off. Yes, Montana Dirt Roads gas cans. I always have 5 gallons in the bed of my truck. But I would be able to go farther with still only having 5 gallons in the bed of my truck and having that weight down low. Let's see here. Where did I leave off? Body lift, Titan fuel tank. Oh, then I switched to KO2s in a skinny 32 because they didn't make the skinny 33 at the time. Hated those. Wore out really, really fast. I think maybe I got the load range C, not the range E. And then the KM3s came out, and I got the skinny 33s in that and rocked those as the last tire I had. And then at 140,000 miles, so this was 4,000 miles ago, and it's also like 3 years ago. So I haven't put very many miles on in 3 years. I did the Titan engine and transmission into the truck. I bolted up shorty headers and test pipes and a 3-inch catback with a custom tune. All new engine consumables, belts, hoses, plugs, radiator, everything, all the consumables, everything's brand new.
Does that
And
use
with
a
the new-
timing belt or chain?
I'm pretty sure it's chain. And with the new radiator, I plumbed the transmission back into the radiator. So that's something you do on Xteras and Nissans of my vintage, is that you disconnect the radiator, or sorry, the transmission from the radiator, because the radiators are prone to fail, and you'd get your transmission would get coolant in it, and
Hang on a second. Lifted Xterra in the comments says get Audi R8 coil packs and an up rev tune. What? How much do Audi R8 coil packs cost? Are they like $400 each, or that's? I would assume supercar stuff is expensive.
I've heard of people talking about that, and I've seen a lot of people in the Nissan groups actually doing that. So they must not be that much if us poor Nissan folks can afford to do it.
True.
I just like, what is it going to do for me? It gives me some more spark and burns my fuel better. I'm not sure. I've got a V8. I got good power. I got a V8. So I also at the same time did a front Titan differential that has an ARB air locker in it. And I did Titan half shafts up front as well. Titan lower control arms with SPC upper control arms, rad flow coilovers. So I now have long travel. I'm 3 inches wider on the front left and 3 inches wider on the front right, which means my back axle is like it skipped leg day. So on the back end, I bought spacers to fix that problem. I bought some 2-inch wheel spacers. And then let's see here. I missed something in here. Oh, and in the back end at the same time, I did 4-inch longer Bilstein shocks. Took all the sway bars off. No more sway bars at this time.
Lifted Xterra says, why do I keep hearing bad things about rad flow? Prone to bending and flexing, apparently. I've never heard really anything bad about rad flow, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's the first time I've ever heard anything bad about rad flow.
It's usually
The only
icon
thing-
that everybody cries about, but I don't.
I thought some people talk bad about rad flow only in the sense that it's one of the cheaper options out there, so you aren't as cool if you don't have Kings or whatever. So that's the only thing I've ever heard.
And the problems I've heard with like Icon is it's the seals go out, but if you
They go on every
yeah
one of them.
The thing with the coil packs, Aaron, is they will stop spark blowout at any boost level, and have been used on cars in making the 400 horsepower range.
First of all, Aaron shouldn't have 400 horsepower in his truck, like legally, and just on a
I
morally.
shouldn't be allowed to.
Yeah,
It would be irresponsible of us as podcast hosts and as American citizens to let him have 400, 500 horsepower in his Xterra.
yeah, that's dangerous.
Frontier, but yeah. Let's see here. And then I at the same time I threw in I got my ham license. So I got my FTM, my Yaesu FTM 300 ham radio finally installed that I bought a couple years prior. And then I got some new wheels, and these new wheels made me change everything. So I got some worn Epic 17-inch wheels that were a Toyota lug pattern. And the Nissan Titan uses the same lug spacing as the Toyota does. So I changed out the front spindles and the front brakes to the Nissan Titan hubs and brakes. And in the rear, I got rid of the 2-inch wheel spacers and I added 2-inch wheel adapters. And so now I can run those 17-inch worn Toyota wheels. And I've got 35, 12 and a half, 17 Mickey Thompson Baja Boss MTs on there. And with that mod, I also had to break an angle grinder out on my front fenders to do some clearancing. So, yep. Yeah, 6 on 4.5 to 6 on 5.5 is where I'm at now. So that's about where I'm sitting. For Christmas, Coy bought me a microphone magnet thing, and I haven't installed that yet, but I'll get that on before Moab. I promise, Coy.
And I bought you a laser level as well as a magnetic mic mount. Both very expensive. So I'd like you to mention both.
Sorry, and the laser level. I'll use the laser level so I get that mic mount perfect in the cab. Badlands wants to know, would it have been cheaper to put an Xterra body onto a Titan frame at this point? I don't have an Xterra. I have a Frontier, but I know what you're saying. I don't know. I've never heard of anybody body swapping something onto a Titan. So that's a good question. It's got to be a longer frame though, so I can't imagine that it would work. I don't think you could make that work.
Well, and I think the because like your front differential and all that was something you got earlier on, the Titan one, right? Even though it's the same differential for yours with the locking, the ARB.
No, I just collected it as I was collecting all my parts. I got that at the same time.
Yeah.
So I think it's just longer because it's not any wider if the engine bolts up and the axles, not the axle, the front suspension and the front differential and everything, it all bolts up like it should.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be longer. Strangely enough, when I bought an entire Nissan Titan to take parts off of it to put into my Frontier, and it's not going to say it's impossible, but the back two spark plugs on the Titan, they're not impossible to get to, but they are way back there. And then when I dropped, and I made note of that in my head, I'm like, well, I got to make sure I change those spark plugs out before I put that engine in. I put the engine in the Frontier, and they're not way back there underneath the firewall. It's really odd that it's super easy to change the spark plugs on that. So I don't know.
All right, let's talk about our plans for future mods. Obviously, in the future, after my wife lets me spend like $20-something thousand, I'm gonna get some portal axles. Duh. That's a dream mod. I shouldn't say future mod. And then the one that I really do want to get, and is not so much as a dream, but the Northwest Fab Planetary Doubler transfer case. It uses the Toyota. I believe I have the VF4 case. You got to get another VF4 case, take a bunch of the guts out of it, and it makes your your transfer case about 6.5 inches longer, but makes it a doubled transfer case. And then they're expensive, and then you got to get their super amazingly sweet double transfer case sticks that are amazing. Billet, you got to Google it. Yeah. Oh, they're sweet. Twin stick. Yep, all the cool stuff, and it should all work pretty good. And it's pretty bolt-in-ish. Obviously, you got to get drive shafts changed out and stuff, but it uses all those factory parts still. And luckily, with my Toyota, you can get another VF transfer case for like $600. They're almost worthless, so you can pick them up pretty cheap. But I'd end up being into it all said and done probably $3,000. Like still fairly expensive undertaking, and I'm super worried about having that kind of geared down torque. And then I like to run like the cheap Napa front axles because they're lifetime warranty, and when I tear a boot or break it, I just get a different one. But I don't want them to just be matchsticks under there, and with that kind of torque, I wonder In the snow, I think I'd be okay, but when I go to like Moab or I'm in the rocks, I just got a feeling I'm just gonna pop, just go through those front axles. I'd love to get a set of RCV Ultimate CV axles so that I could move my weak point into my front diff because they're so much cheaper to replace than axles. I'm at the point where I kind of do want to snorkel. I've pushed it several times. I feel like I may be the only FJ.
Snorkel.
Maybe the only FJ without a snorkel
Snorkel.
at this point. I just hate the way that ARB style snorkel looks on FJs. I wanted a River Raider one for a long time. They're kind of a Humvee style one that comes more out of the, no, I shouldn't say hood, but cowl. And they had that kind of mushroom tipped look. But they quit making them, and really all I'm left with is that ARB style one, and I just the Safari one. I don't care for the look of it on FJs, but I'm getting to where I think I'm going to have one. I would love a Mule Expedition roof rack, almost solely because it looks really cool. I hardly use my roof rack. It carries some lights in my shovel, and occasionally I throw my tent up there. My factory rack is more than enough for what I use it for. Yeah, as I said that lifted exterior, I realized mushroom tip maybe not the best choice of words, but still. Yeah, so I'd love a Mule Expedition roof rack. It looks really cool. They're not cheap, but I don't know, maybe someday. And then I would like to do a rear tube bumper. Nobody really makes rear tube bumpers. I should say rear tube bumper with a swing out. So something I'd probably have to make myself or get someone to. And then obviously, if I'm customizing it myself, I want to do an AEV fuel caddy. I want to steal something off the Jeep guys. They make a really sweet fuel caddy that kind of goes into the spare tire and above and around it. I think it's a 5 or 6 gallon fuel caddy there. Nice. I always thought that'd be cool. So I'd like one of those. That's really all I can think of for future modifications. I don't
just a couple things
too much harder.
Yeah, maybe you could use your snorkel to maybe like unlock your cell phone or something, that the little mushroom tip as your ID, as your fingerprint.
That's my biometric ID.
Yeah.
That's a long story. We don't have time.
It is. Yeah, we definitely don't. We're already running long.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I want to get some fender flares. I hate how far out my tires stick. In fact, that's coming up here in a second. Want to get some fender flares, and I'd love to get a pre-snorkel for my filter. I've wanted one of those for the longest time. Then Ben got one. I'm like, I can't have one because Ben has one. That's the real reason why Coy's getting rid of his tent trailer, is because Ben has one.
Mine's
no, I think, yeah, Coy is the second largest tent trailer on the podcast.
Mine doesn't have a hole in it though, so
no, that's his teardrop trailer.
Yeah,
Ben's collecting all the trailers.
I thought you bought that tent trailer with like a rip in the canvas.
No. There was a slight tear that was repaired.
That's literally what I just said. You said no.
No.
It's been repaired. It's been repaired.
Therefore, there's no hole in it.
Yeah, can't have a. So fender flares, really want to get some of those. I'm told that there's a specific year of Dodge 1500, Ram 1500 flares that work almost perfect. You have to take a heat gun to where the fuel door area is. Other than that, they're perfect. I'd like to get that pre-filter for a snorkel. I really do need to get a replacement for the factory skid plates that are up front, something stronger. I'd like to replace my head unit. The factory one is fine, but in this day and age, I need something that my phone can Bluetooth directly to, rather than having to use a device that I Bluetooth to, and then that plugs into the aux in port on the truck. It's pretty annoying. Bronco beadlock wheels. Coy, I missed the boat. I should have pulled the trigger months ago when we first talked about it. Now they've gone up in price. You can't find them, or people don't want to separate them from their tires. I'm still trying to find a good deal that's close to me. I test fitted them. They look great. The offset sucks them in a little bit. And with those, I will put on my new to me, the first set of used tires I've ever bought. I bought some skinny 35s. I bought them off our buddy Josh, who lives in Central Oregon. They have just a couple thousand miles on them. I think they have like 5,000 miles on them. And they are, why can't I remember the brand? Coy, can you help me out with this one?
Now you have me messed up.
Yeah. They're supposed to come on our podcast. Anyways, I got some skinny 35s, some 10 and a half 35 17s that are going to go on my car or on my truck.
Or not Falcons?
No.
Um,
Chuck asked why I prefer skinnies. I for a few reasons. I've never had I don't feel like I've had a skinny let me down. And they fit under the fender better. I just hate. Is there any way, Ben, you can pull up a picture of my truck with the tires sticking out? No, they're not. Definitely not Venom Power. I haven't heard of those.
your Turo. Oh, damn it! Now I'm spacing on it too.
It's the company Kenda. Yes, thank you, Travis. Kenda tires.
And
Kenda Cleavers, to be specific.
You want a recent
Here.
picture of your truck, Aaron?
There you go. If you could throw that up, you'll see how far out my tires stick, and I think it's very bro-ish, and it's like gross to me to drive around with my truck looking like this. So, and the last thing I want is a rear tire swing away, because the 35s don't fit up underneath my truck like the 33s did. And I'd love to have a rear tire swing away built for it, because right now I have to store my spare tire inside.
Honestly, I think with fender flares, they'd probably cover a good portion of it. Not all of it, but with the other tires, they'd probably fix it.
They would. I also would like to try. I can't go down this road. Never mind. I was going to say I'd like to try. Josh just got some almost skinny 37s. He's running a 37, 11 and a half, 17. And I just wonder if those would make it easier to jump up to a 37. But with 37s, you need gears and
got a V8, man. You'd be fine. I believe in you. Just do it.
Yeah. And I'd probably break more stuff. And I just don't need it for what I do. I like to explore. I like to do a little bit of rock crawling.
Aaron, if you're going to be a hero, you got to do hero stuff. You know what I mean? That's like part of it.
I already do hero stuff. Yeah. Chuck probably asked, let's get back to that. Chuck probably asked about the skinnies, because Chuck does a lot of snow wheeling, and that's probably the biggest benefit to the wider rubber is that you got a lot more flotation in the snow. I don't do a lot of snow wheeling, and when I do, I'm not the best at it.
That's not entirely true. You don't have any more flotation, but you lose more ground clearance when you air down. So you'll have the same size contact patch. It'll be longer and narrower, which is actually an advantage in the snow. But because there is less tire when you air down equal amounts, the skinny tire will lose more ground clearance.
You don't think that because it's wider? Or are you just saying that you have to air down to the point where you get the same contact?
If the rigs are equal, this is kind of all things being equal. If the rigs are equal weight, you'll have essentially almost identical size contact patch. The narrow tire is actually a more advantageous contact patch because it's narrower, so it pushes less snow. But the narrower tire will come down a lot more, so you'll lose a lot more ground clearance with that air down.
Gotcha. Well, the skinnies have been good to me. And like I've always said, if the Camel Trophy guys could get away with like a 7-inch wide tire, I can do it with a 10.5-inch tire.
Let's see what's next for me. I want to do a metal rear bumper. I've got a factory rear bumper, and I want something with a tire carrier built into it. It would just make life a little more easier, especially because like Aaron, my spare does not fit underneath anymore, and I've only got 33s. If I'm ever going to go bigger, I need something that's going to lift it up off the ground. Let's see. I'm been looking for an FJ or newer 4Runner rear axle with an e-locker. The 2013 and newer FJs. That's the same axle as the new 4Runners, which is slightly better.
2010 and newer.
Is it 2010 and newer?
Yeah.
Which it's just a slightly larger, stronger axle. So I've been keeping my eye out for one of those. I eventually am going to build a storage drawer for the back of the 4Runner. I just like every time I get into my gear looking for something, it like ends up all over the back, and I just prefer to keep it more organized. And having drawers, I feel, would help me with that, and it would allow for more storage options. And just I want to keep things more organized. And then I've got to do some clearancing and beat some metal and stop some rubbing with my persuader. So I'm gonna pull the hammer out, and I'll be using some persuasion on some metal.
Well, I'm going to kick us off with some mods that didn't work. And we're 2 hours in this podcast, so we'll try to make it. We'll try to finish this up soon here. Mods that didn't work. So I did those 2-inch puck spacers. It's not that it didn't work. I just wanted more than the 2-inch puck spacer, so I went to the 3-inch spacer. And a lot of people say you get coil bind with that. I never had any coil bind with mine. I don't know why my truck could have been different, but I did 3-inch, and I rocked that for almost 100,000 miles with no issue. Those 2-inch lift shackles I mentioned earlier, they didn't work. I got hand-me-down plywood drawers for the bed of my truck. I was the 4th recipient of them, and they were built pretty nice, but they were well used, and I used them, and I wheel hard. They got banged up, and they eventually went into the burn pile at my house, unfortunately. That homemade roof basket, I think it works fine, but I'd never put anything on the roof of my truck other than the rooftop tent. So it was just kind of weird for me to have it up there. I put chairs up there one time, and that was about it. The aftermarket heated seats, I mentioned those. The hard roll-up tonneau cover. And then the last thing I have here is the 10.5-inch wide tires on 0 offset wheels with the Titan swap. It just pushes it so wide. I don't fit on my trailer anymore. I actually have to borrow someone else's trailer to go to Moab to tow my truck down there.
Let's see. Used tires was mine, and factory skid plates. I should have upgraded my skid plates years ago.
You did. You should have installed them years ago.
Well, and then installed them. Let's see. But yeah, used tires was just a terrible idea. And I mean, maybe if I would have shopped a little better on those used tires, it would have been okay. But yeah, no.
All right. So this is a kind of a humble brag, I guess, but I do an insane amount of research and reading. I read at a really, I'm a very fast reader. I've read all my life, and I will burn the internet down researching what I'm doing to my vehicle. So I have very few ones that I was disappointed with. One of those, the spacer lift, when I bought it, I kind of knew it wasn't a permanent thing, and I don't really have a ton of bad things to say about it, but it does eat up your down travel and stuff. So I did have, I had a spacer leveling kit, 16-inch wheels. I do love the Bird Dog wheels, and when I got them, there wasn't really other options for a non-bead lock with some kind of bead retention. At this point, there's just not that much options in the 16-inch wheel category. So I kind of wish when I did that, I just went ahead and got 17s. I'd rather run 15s if they'd fit over my brakes, but
Absolutely.
I like that big sidewall. But at this point, my next set of tires, I almost have to buy 17s because I'm just being pushed out of the market. There's not going to be that many options, and there's several tires that I really want to get a set of Yokohama, the XMT Geolanders. I think they look really cool. I've heard amazing things about them. Chuck Holt strongly recommended them for snow and rock, and I'd love to run a set. They just don't make them a 16, so I'm just never going to have a set with these wheels. Love these wheels, but I wish I'd gone to a 17. And then I bought a Super Winch Expedition winch, which was supposed to be their highest level, their best winch ever. And it was such hot trash. Like I immediately, like as soon as I was able to get rid of it and get my money back while it was still weeks old, and they were in the midst, like their headquarters was a block and a half from where I work. And they're like, I went down there and was like, look, dude, you guys still haven't sent me half my stuff. This thing doesn't work. And they're like, yeah, we're in the middle of being bought out, so no, we can't help you. And so I ended up I bought it from an online company. I think it was Extreme Terrain or somebody like that. Ended up calling them, like, hey man, like this thing don't work right. And they're like, they won't take it. They won't help me. And so I just ended up sitting it back to them, and it sucked, but what are you going to do? And then I decided to go prepared, and I bought a Warn. And I had thought Super Winch was like on par with Warn. It was like Ramsey, Super Winch, and Warn were like the big three. And it turns out, no, it's just Warn was the big one. So I went with the Warn and have had literally zero problems. And that's really my only regrets.
Let's talk some places we've wheeled. I've been to Tahuya, backcountry, Washington backcountry discovery route, a little bit of Montana, Idaho, South Dakota, Christmas Valley, and Northwest Nevada, and then part of the Steens Mountain Loop because I thought it would be quicker to leave out the way we came in, and it wasn't.
Yeah, you'll have that.
Yep, regret.
All right. So Moab, Utah, Ouray, Colorado, and then a little bit in Nevada. I've gone on a couple trips with Aaron there, just dinking around. And then I've stomped through Oregon pretty good. So the Cascades, Coast Range, the Dunes, done a couple of the backcountry discovery routes, played around in the central area quite a bit, and the southeast high desert. I really haven't been much where Aaron's going in the northeast high desert. So the top side of the state there, closer to Washington, Sumter, along 84, Baker, Hell's Canyon. I haven't messed around there much. I want to more. I feel like that's the one part of the state I've neglected. So I'd like to, over the next few years, get out there a little more.
For me, Tahuya was the very first place I went wheeling. Ripped off my tube bumpers, or my tube steps on my 05 Frontier, and then I promptly, when I had my 08, I ripped them off while I was out there also. It's a good place to remove those Nerf bars, is Tahuya, or probably any off-road park, honestly. I've done the Barlow Trail, which was a fun trail down in Oregon, all over the Gifford Pinchot National Forest. Lots of areas in Central Oregon, a little of Central Washington. There's a wagon trail up in Washington. I can't think of it off the top of my head that I did quite a few years ago. I've circumnavigated Oregon counterclockwise when I got my rooftop tent. I've been in northern Nevada a bunch of times, it's just a treat down there. It's so desolate, but there's just these hidden gems out there. There's rock hounding, there's hot springs, there's ghost towns and old homesteads, geological oddities. There's just a lot of cool stuff in that area, mines, some stuff like that. A little bit of central and eastern Washington I've done. Moab and the San Juan Mountains with Coy. Good time up there. I'd love to go back to Colorado and do that again. And obviously we're going to Moab again in just a couple months from now. So,
All right, now let's talk about places we want to wheel. First of all, I'll start out. There's pretty much everywhere. Like
everywhere.
Yeah.
Like there's not a ton of places where like, hey, would you like to wheel here? I'm like, no, thank you. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm like Ben after he's had too much fentanyl. I'll try it. What do you offer? And you know, you don't want none of this, do we? I mean, I may say maybe. So I want to go to the Ozarks someday. That's a long drive away from where I live, but that's kind of where at least my dad's side of the
Are you reading my list, Coy?
No. It's where my family's from, and there's like this high water mark trail that I've heard about that just sounds super cool, and just it looks like a fun place to wheel. More of an overland style wheel, it seems like, but I'd like to check that out. Arizona is another place that recently I've been hearing like killer things about Arizona. I'd really like to go check Arizona out just for some of the trails I've heard about. Chuck Holt says Rubicon. Chuck Holt, I have no reason that I haven't done Rubicon other than I'm a wuss, I guess. It's like 12-hour drives, not even that far from me. I just got to go do it. Let's see. And then I have Sand Hollow. Obviously, there's some stuff in Montana I'd like to check out. There's this new Murris Adventure Park in Texas that seems really cool that I wouldn't mind checking out. And then the Baja Telegraph Road. And I've heard of this. I haven't done a ton of research on it, but there's an old telegraph line that was built all the way down the Baja Peninsula into Mexico that was supposed to be like an emergency alert for Japanese submarines or something. But I guess you can still drive along this old telegraph road, and it's a pretty good wheeling trip. And then I would love to do I'm gonna butcher this, but Tuktoyaktuk.
That's really close. Tuktoyaktuk.
Tuktoyaktuk. It's as pretty much as far north as you can drive in Canada. And you can actually drive to the Arctic Ocean there, unlike Dead Horse and Prudhoe Bay and stuff. You can drive almost there and then take a tour bus there. If I'm going to go that far, I want to dip my front tires in the Arctic Ocean. And if you go in the wintertime, you can actually just drive across the ice even farther to some other islands and stuff. So I'd like to visit there sometime, solely just so when I'm arguing with people, I can be like, look, I've been to the end of the earth, you know, and I just feel like it gives me more clout in arguments.
Yeah, I think it would. Well, Coy and I have some of the similar places. Sand Hollow. Sand Hollow sounds like a treat. We had actually talked about doing Sand Hollow this year, but we're like, let's do one more big kick. We'll go to Moab before we start doing Sand Hollow. There's a few more places on Coy's bucket list he wants to hit, so we're gonna do that. But Sand Hollow is definitely on the agenda. I also would like to do the Ozarks. It sounds like Coy mentioned overlandy, but there's also some harder things thrown in, some obstacles, and it looks like a beautiful area. I'd love to take a month off of work and go wheel Alaska. We did our hypothetical, and even just thinking about the hypothetical, like my heart is my heartbeat's increasing right now, and it's not from the amount of fat that I ate with dinner. It's just I'm excited about thinking about Alaska. I'd love to do, if I had all the time in the world, I'd love to do all of the BDRs in the Pacific Northwest, Oregon, Idaho, Nevada, Washington. I missed Washington somehow. Montana. I just love to hit all those BDRs. They're so well put together. The crews that make those are yeah, they do it. They do an amazing job. The Transamerica Trail that goes basically from East Coast to West Coast and ends at the coast in Oregon. Super cool. And there sounds like there's a lot of neat overlandy stuff to do in the upper Michigan Peninsula. That sounds like a neat area to explore. That's a little bit untapped wilderness up there. So
I want to hit Canada. It's right, it's right there, and it's untapped. I don't think people talk about it enough, and I'm sure there's lots of fun to be had there. Moab, I still haven't gone. A lot of the
we can
BDR.
change that. We can change it, Ben.
Yeah. Idaho Backcountry Discovery Route was actually going to be happening.
Ben,
now
at this point, I think you're scared of Moab. Like,
yep.
it's not that difficult. You can take time off. You can make it. I know people who work at schools and they go on vacation. Like, you can
Yep.
make it.
And then
My wife
Alaska-
was a teacher. She took time off.
yeah,
weeks at a
Alaska,
time.
Alaska has been on my list.
It's just
for a
ignoring
while.
us.
I am. Like Aaron, that whole Alaska thing, and we've been my wife and I have talked about it, and that's in the 10-year plan of going there. I said, this is what I want to do. You're either coming with me or you're not. It's up to you to decide. I'm going to drive, either I'm taking a ferry and I'm going up to Alaska and I'm going to explore and go all the way to Dead Horse, or Tuk, yeah. And then I also want to go down to Chile. I've got my grandpa's Jeep. Eventually, one day that's going to get fixed, and I'm driving it to Chile. It did it when it was brand new. It would be cool to take it back down there. So grandpa's Jeep is going to make a return. Granted, I may be 60 when I do it, but that's the goal, is I want to drive that truck down there. So, yep. I mean, I'm sure, like you guys said earlier, where do I not want to go wheel? But that's my short list.
All right. AK Ford fan is also telling you to go, Ben, because he's going to Moab. AK Ford fan, you should jump on Facebook Messenger or email us at offroadpodcast@gmail.com, like some contact info so we can get a hold of you when you're down there. All right, guys. Next week we're doing a Christmas in June episode, and we're just gonna come up with some cool off-road stuff to buy. And you can listen to this while your wife's in the car or something. Just maybe get some ideas going.
Why are we doing June? Shouldn't it be Christmas in July?
That's the 7th month. We're cresting over. This is a 6th month. So we're doing end of June. We're halfway to Christmas, which is mind blowing to me, because Christmas was like, we just
happened.
And now we're halfway to the next one. And
I got a sweet
faster.
laser for Christmas.
You're welcome.
6 months late.
They were back ordered. They were back ordered, man. I don't know. I was waiting for the bigger model to come out. I could have got you base, but I went mid-grade. So
yeah, so next week's episode is going to air on the 24th. So it's more like a Christmas Eve in June instead of Christmas in June. But a lot of people open their Christmas presents on Christmas Eve anyway, so they can play with them on Christmas Day. So I feel like it fits.
Yeah.
We do want to thank everyone for listening to us. You guys have hung in there. We appreciate you guys. Some of you are regulars, some of you aren't regulars. It's a lot of fun having these comments with you guys. Appreciate you.
Crazy this week.
Travis says Bolton Dana 60s is all he wants for Christmas. Yeah, those are probably the second best axles you can get. We appreciate you guys. If you are listening to this podcast and want to join that, almost all the action happens on our YouTube page. Make sure you're sharing us with your friends, helping us grow. God bless America.
Don't forget to visit Patriot Patch and join the Patch of the Month Club. Check out our Gaia affiliate link for up to 40% off. Also, don't forget to head over to Warren Colby Valve and 4 Patriots to see all of their great products. We are a proud part of the Firearms Radio Network. Got a question or comment? Send it to us through our Linktree account or by searching for Off-Road Podcast. Also, you can listen to us live at overlandradio.com Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. When off-road, please remember to have fun, tread lightly, and be safe and courteous. Thanks for listening.
Coy, do you think Ben would get in trouble from work if we kidnapped him and drug him to Moab? I mean, that's legitimate.
So there's
It's not
going to
his
have to
fault.
be a legit police report. So we have to go this kidnapping. Like, we got to do it right. We can't leave a trail. You know what I mean? Because it's going to be phone calls. The FBI is going to show up, especially if we kidnap them off a bus. Like, in
Do you think the
School.
FBI likes nacho cheese?
we could leave a trail of it away from where we take them to throw them off our scent.
Just don't bring your dogs.